This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast brought to you by Agriland and AXA, keeping you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined by Kathleen O'Sullivan and Agriland beef specialist Breifne O'Brien. Well, obviously the big news of the week was the publication of the draft Nitrates Action Programme, or NAP. This will be Ireland's sixth NAP, replacing the fifth, which expires at the end of this year. The new NAP contains several measures to improve water quality in the hopes that it will secure the nitrates derogation for Ireland into next year. The draft NAP has now been put to public consultation to get the views of farmers and stakeholders. Kathleen, a lot of the detail in the draft NAP would have been coming out in drips and drabs, and a lot of that would have been covered in Agriland over the last weeks and months. But now that we have an official document on the table, can you take us through the details of this new NAP and how it will differ from the current one?
So according to the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, a suite of measures in the Draft 6 programme have been developed following recommendations from the Nitrates Expert Group and in consultation with stakeholders including the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marines Agriculture Water Quality Working Group. So the Draft 6 NAP builds on the progress made through the preceding programmes and includes a suite of new regulatory and non-regulatory measures. So previously, Ireland has been granted a nitrates derogation in all 5 nitrates programmes to date, and the government has again requested a renewal of the derogation under the 6th programme. The Nitrates Directive requires EU member states to develop a Nitrates Action Programme every 4 years. So certain measures relating to the derogation have also been included in the latest draft programme, and according to the Department of Housing, it is proposed that some of the measures for the Draft 6 programme will only be mandatory for derogation farmers, while other measures will apply more broadly as appropriate. So new regulatory measures being considered include and relate to nutrient balance at individual farm level, improved nutrient distribution on fragmented farms, increased slurry and soiled water storage capacity requirements, chemical nitrogen allowances for grassland and arable crops, timing of nutrient application for arable crops, and expansion of the Department of Agriculture's Organic Nutrient Movement Database. The 94-page draft programme document also outlines a number of non-regulatory measures that are being considered. So these include expansion of the Agricultural Sustainability Support and Advisory Programme, continuation of the Farming for Water European Innovation Partnership to the end of 2029, knowledge transfer and awareness raising for both farmers and farm advisors, and research on cover crop establishment, among a number of other measures. And there's more detail on Agriland's website. The government is now seeking feedback on the latest draft programme and has launched a public consultation which will run until December 1st of this year, Charles.
And while we're on water quality, Teagasc organised a water quality conference which took place yesterday on Wednesday. The NAP and the nitrates derogation obviously were significant parts of what was talked about. So Kathleen, what were the main takeaways from that conference?
Yes, Charles. So the aim of the conference, according to Teagasc, was to understand the current policy, science, and practice around agriculture and water quality, and to examine what can be learned from the catchment approach taken in New Zealand. So Teagasc director Professor Frank O'Mara told the major conference that clean water is a cornerstone of the rural landscapes that sustain food production. Professor O'Mara said that it is clear that water quality must improve. He said that farmers have already taken on board a lot of measures and implemented a lot of actions to improve water quality. He added that Teagasc has a role to support them in taking further actions in coordination with all other interested parties. Now, speaking at the conference as well, the head of water quality at the Department of Agriculture, Ted Massey, said that the department is still in talks with the European Commission on how to apply habitats assessments to nitrates derogation approvals. Now, it was revealed during the summer that the Commission would be asking Ireland to demonstrate compliance with the EU Habitats Directive when granting a derogation in the next Nitrates Action Programme, if Ireland retains the derogation after this year. So, this has led to concerns that granting of a derogation to farmers would rely on appropriate assessments being carried out under the Habitats Directive, possibly on a farm-by-farm basis. Ted Massey said that Ireland is looking at enforcing that requirement on a catchment or sub-catchment approach. Massey said that in terms of the European Commission, discussions are ongoing. He said a number of presentations have been made by Ireland over recent months at the Nitrates Committee in Brussels as part of that engagement. And here is an extract of Ted Massey speaking to Agriland at yesterday's conference.
So in terms of the proposals for the sixth SNAP, we're very much building on the approach set out in Water and Agriculture Collaborative approach. We're aiming to work with the industry and continue the good work that is happening to develop further momentum and ultimately deliver the improvements in water quality that we are all seeking to see. We believe we will best do that through the optimum combination of regulation, knowledge transfer and awareness raising, and incentivisation. And that's what we're setting out in terms of the proposed measures for next SNAP. In terms of your question around the European Commission, obviously, discussions with the Commission are ongoing. We've made a number of presentations over recent months at the Nitrates Committee in Brussels, but we're also engaging very closely bilaterally with the Commission as well. And in the coming weeks, as part of that process, we'll see Commissioner Oswald coming to Ireland at Minister Hayden's invitation as well. So that process will continue, I'd suggest, for most definitely the coming weeks anyway.
And that was the Department of Agriculture's Ted Massey speaking there. Well, the NEP and the derogation is obviously very important in the dairy sector. And just staying with that sector, the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine has confirmed that there was an issue with nitrogen and phosphorus NNP interim statements published online for the periods ending July and August 2025. In a statement, the department outlined that changes to the nitrogen and phosphorus data relating to bovines less than 1 year of age, introduced as part of the revisions to the nitrates regulations earlier this year, were not correctly incorporated into the interim statements published online. The department said that it has written to farmers it believes will be impacted and has said that the farmers will not be disadvantaged. Elsewhere on dairy, the farmer shareholders of New Zealand dairy co-op Fonterra have given the go-ahead for the co-op to sell its global consumer and associated businesses. Fonterra's mainland group will be sold to French dairy giant Lactalis for 4.22 billion New Zealand dollars, with 88.47% of the total farmer votes cast in support of the divestment. The final vote on the deal were cast at a virtual special meeting held this morning, October 30th. But we're going to talk about beef now. And with the Christmas season approaching and orders starting to arrive from customers, it's an important time of year for beef farmers. Breifne, have we seen any sign of this week in the latest prices for farmers?
Yes, Charles. So beef farmers have seen some price positivity this week in I suppose, coming in the way of finished cattle prices from the factories. Quotes have lifted this week by 10 cent a kilo in most cases. You're starting to hear factories talking about their Christmas kills, and I suppose a lot of processors will naturally be anxious enough to get cattle booked in for the coming weeks. We've seen supplies for the past 4 weeks, I think, running approximately 10,000 head or more below the same weeks of last year. So I suppose it's really following in with that trend of the whole second half of this year of reduced finished cattle supplies. So obviously getting cattle booked in and filling out them Christmas orders will be a priority for the processors. So yeah, like I said, base price offers have increased this week. The factories are quoting approximately $7.50 for bullocks and $7.60 on the grid for heifers. Obviously your bonus is in after that. Or grade cows are anywhere from 720 to 740 per kilo. Bit of a variation there between outlets, and your under 24-month bulls are 770, 780 for ores and ewes respectively, with the under 16-month bulls at approximately 750 on the grid. Now, there is a significant variation there in the prices being quoted this week between outlets. And I suppose a quick look there at the beef prices, or the factory prices, that are published on Agriland there every Wednesday evening. In the beef section, they come from the Department of Agriculture. It is showing that there is significant variation in prices within grade and even within categories of cattle across factories. There's as high as €8 being paid there for O plus grading steers last week. So, there is a bit of a variation there. Obviously maybe there's some outlets have priority for certain specifications of cattle, be that breed, carcass, weights, various things like that, and they are maybe able to offer a little bit more than others. But thankfully things are fairly positive looking on the beef trade. And I suppose it's no harm to get a little note in there as well, just about the weanling trade as well, and the trade for lighter and even store type cattle. Carnaross Mart in County Meath had their weekly weaning sale there on Tuesday evening, and any of them, I suppose, them top spec U and E grade weanling bulls north of 350 kilos, the tops of them were all managing to clear that €2,000 price mark. So look, it's good to see them, them weanling producers getting good prices for their cattle, and hopefully it can continue, Charles.
And on a related point, Breifne, there's a few important scheme deadlines approaching for livestock farmers. Can you update us on those?
Yes, of course, and as farmers will know all too well, keeping on top of these deadline dates can be challenging, and trying to remember what has to be done when can often be a bit of a task in its own right. But I suppose there's some upcoming deadline dates there for suckler farmers participating in SCEP, and then of course for the dairy calf to beef farmers that are participating in the National Dairy Beef Weighing Scheme. So I suppose firstly, starting with SCEP, farmers are being reminded that the cow and calf weights must be recorded in the ICBF database before 5:30 on the 1st of November. So that's the deadline date, is the close of play on November 1st. So as well as that, just it's a reminder that weights should be submitted within 7 days of recording the weight data. So I'm sure a lot of farmers will have them in by now, but just anybody that doesn't, it's just a reminder to get them in. And then of course SCEP applicants are also required to ensure that by the 31st of October, which is tomorrow evening, or we say Friday evening, at least 65% of the yearly reference number of females in the SCEP herd, or in the suckler herd, are eligible females. So obviously females that are genotyped 4 or 5 stars on the replacement index. So an eligible heifer or an eligible female can be a beef breed female that is 16 months of age or older on the 31st of October 2025 and has been genotyped 4 or 5 stars on the replacement index. So eligible females can have been genotyped 4 or 5 stars at the time of purchase for farmers who are buying them in, or at the time of genotyping. Of course, the change in the star ratings and that can cause a little bit of confusion there for suckler farmers. So that's just a clarification on that. And then of course the genotype samples must be submitted before the 30th of November, so farmers still have a little bit more time on that one. And then of course the SCEP survey data, that must be submitted before February 15th of next year. So then I suppose with the National Dairy Beef Weighing Scheme, just to keep in mind, there's two dairy beef schemes. I suppose one for the dairy farmers, which is the National Dairy Beef Welfare Scheme, and that's focused primarily on genetics. But there's also the one for the farmers themselves who are rearing the calves, and that's obviously the National Dairy Beef Weighing Scheme. So that's a payment of €20 per calf for a minimum of 5 calves up to a maximum of 50 eligible calves. So the weights for this scheme must be submitted to the ICBF database again before 5:30 on November 1st, 2025. So that date is coming up fairly soon. And the department have said the payments under the National Dairy Beef Weighing Scheme will be made in December 2025. So they're just a couple of key dates there for suckler farmers or SCEP participants and dairy calf to beef farmers availing of that €20 per calf scheme as well to keep in mind.
Thanks for that, Breifne. And just one other important deadline to keep in mind. The annual declaration for the low emissions slurry spreading action under acres in respect of 2025 must be completed online by tomorrow, Friday, October 31st. And if you want more details on that, you can check out the article on Agriland. We'll move sectors again now to poultry. New biosecurity measures to protect against the spread of bird flu will come into effect from this weekend. Kathleen, what do we need to know here?
Yes, Charles. So, the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Martin Hayden, has confirmed the regulations will come into effect on Saturday, November 1st. These measures are designed to prevent outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza, or HPAI, in poultry and captive birds. One of the key measures is to prevent wild birds gaining access to poultry and captive birds and also to their environment. Now, according to the Department of Agriculture, there is an increasing risk to poultry and captive birds during the higher risk period for avian influenza. The department has also highlighted the increased inward migration of wild waterfowl, who are the natural reservoirs of bird flu viruses. A total of 41 wild birds have now tested positive for the HPAI virus in the first 9 months of 2025. The new regulations set to come in will require all keepers of poultry and other captive birds, including backyard flocks, to put measures in place to protect their flocks, livelihoods, and a wider Irish poultry sector. However, for larger flocks of 350 birds or more, flock owners will be required to apply additional enhanced biosecurity measures. So the department is urging all flock owners to remain vigilant for signs of disease, implement and maintain strict biosecurity measures, and report any suspicion of disease to their local department regional veterinary office. The department has advised that outdoor areas where poultry and captive birds have access to must be fenced or surrounded by netting. It has also warned that if wild birds do gain access to poultry areas, any droppings or feathers should be removed. So the Department of Agriculture is coordinating its latest response to the threat posed by bird flu with the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs in Northern Ireland. An avian influenza prevention zone will be introduced in Northern Ireland on November 1st, Agriculture Minister Andrew Muir confirmed. The Department of Agriculture in Northern Ireland has outlined that the zone places a legal requirement on all bird keepers to follow strict biosecurity measures. It has specified that this applies whether you keep pet birds, commercial flocks, or just a few birds in a backyard or hobby flock. The Chief Veterinary Officer for Northern Ireland, Brian Dewar, confirmed that there is currently no requirement for poultry to be housed and bird gatherings are not prohibited at this stage, but he also warned that this will be kept under constant review.
We'll move back to the dairy sector for our next item and talk about the National Dairy Council Kerrygold Quality Milk Awards, the winners of which were announced last week. So Kathleen, who were the lucky farmers?
Yeah, Charles, so the Ryan family from County Tipperary beat stiff competition to be named by Ornua and the National Dairy Council as the overall winners. The annual awards programme saw 12 finalists compete for the top prize this year. The awards, now in their 16th year, showcase the excellence of Irish dairy, and this year suppliers from 7 counties and 12 dairy co-ops were recognised for their hard work and dedication. So Tom, Mary and Michael Ryan from Thurles, County Tipperary received the overall 2025 award. According to one of the judges, Professor Corinna Pearce, the Ryans were chosen because of their attention to detail in key areas including environmental sustainability, animal health and welfare, and farm infrastructure. They also excelled when it came to hygiene standards, soil and grassland management, farm advocacy and technical performance. The Ryans were, of course, overcome with both joy and shock when they were announced winners. And some background on the farm. Having contracted brucellosis in 1997, the Ryans herd was cleared out, but with Tom and Mary's resilience and dedication, they rebuilt. Tom said they rebuilt gradually, milking 30 cows on a mixed farm. However, when Michael came home from college, the farm really began to redevelop. The herd was doubled, with the Ryans now milking approximately 150 cows and facilities improved. However, Michael feels the everyday routine has got them to where they are now as they worked to reduce somatic cell count and total bacteria count to boost milk quality. And Charles, this is actually the second year in a row the award has gone to County Tipperary, with the Kennedy farm from Care, County Tipperary, claiming the honour last year too.
Moving on now, and after dominating agri-news over the summer, the future of the Common Agricultural Policy has taken a bit of a back seat as it makes its way down the long and winding road of the EU's decision-making system. but it returned to the fore this week after it was discussed at a meeting of the EU's Council of Ministers. Minister of State for Fisheries Timmy Dooley was Ireland's representative at that meeting. Kathleen, what did Minister Dooley have to say?
The next cap must be appropriately funded, Minister of State Timmy Dooley said in Luxembourg this week, Charles. Attending an Agriculture and Fisheries Council meeting, Minister Dooley said it is really important that there is visibility of the cap in the new EU budget, the multi-annual financial framework. He said that CAP has been a really important foundation of the agricultural systems right across Europe, so any changes that need to be made need to reflect what we've already had and to ensure that the viability of farmers is protected, he said. According to Minister Dooley, while the ring fence funding in the current European Commission CAP proposal is a good starting point, it cannot be the end point, he said. During the council meeting, agriculture ministers discussed whether they agreed with the idea of not including any specific green ring fencing for the next CAP. They also raised questions on how a level playing field on the green transition could be ensured for farmers in the absence of any ring fencing. Separately, the Council also examined the current market situation and noted that while EU agricultural markets are generally stable, vulnerabilities and sectoral and regional differences remain. So ministers also highlighted what they pinpointed as the challenges which continue to put pressure on the sector, including the negative impact of extreme weather events and outbreaks of animal and plant diseases. Jacob Jensen, the Danish Minister for Food, Agriculture and Fisheries, said two key priorities came out of the latest Agri-Fish meeting, the first being the need to make green rules simple and flexible so they work for farmers, and the second being deeper integration of Ukraine into EU agricultural markets, Jensen said.
Finally this week, if you were listening to the podcast last week, we mentioned the sale of a bullock at Macroom Mart in County Cork, with the proceeds of the sale to go towards supporting 13-year-old Fela O'Sullivan, who suffered life-changing injuries in a farm accident earlier this year. Well, that sale took place as planned last Saturday, October 25th. Kathleen, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Charles, it was described as a tremendous outpouring of generosity and goodwill at Macroom Mart in Cork last Saturday as the farming community came together for the sale for Fela. As you said, this was a special fundraising event held in support of Fela O'Sullivan. The sale was held in conjunction with Macroom Mart's Whaling Show and Sale and Special Suckler Sale and was met with an atmosphere that could be described as nothing short of electric, Cork Mart said. Buyers, sellers and supporters from near and far turned out to lend their backing to Fela and her family. One of the highlights of the day was the sale of a bullock donated by Daniel Power and Edwina Patterson from Dunmanway, which fetched €12,000. The classy show-type beast was purchased by Padraig Toomey of ABP Bandon. A second heifer calf donated by Jerome Coakley was sold for €3,000, purchased collectively by the friends and staff of Macroom Mart. All proceeds from the sale will go directly to Fela and her family, helping to support her ongoing recovery and care. And speaking after the sale, the team at Cork Marts expressed its gratitude to everyone who made the day possible, saying that the support witnessed was truly overwhelming and it was a day that showed the very best of the farming community.
Well, that's almost where we'll leave it for this week. Just before we go, we want to say congratulations to Rafo Macra. The Donegal Club won the overall Macra Club of the Year award for 2025. The Club of the Year awards were held last Saturday at the Celtic Ross Hotel in Rosscarbery. So well done to all involved at Rafo Macra. And very finally, the Irish Creamery Milk Suppliers Association and Hedgerows Ireland Hedgerows Photo Competition is now open for entries. The popular competition is aimed at capturing the natural beauty of hedgerows around Ireland. You can read more about it on our website and app. But that's where we'll leave it for this week. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Kathleen, Breifne and myself, all the best.
This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.